Hello everybody, my name is Roman and it's Marketing Watch House and welcome back on my channel. Uh, One very important announcement that I had to recapture the whole video because the video was so slow and boring. And don't be surprised when you go on with the tutorials on this YouTube channel and see that sometimes the date when I was filming the video is actually changing. It's totally okay. And don't forget to subscribe. So today we're going to continue talking about the different ways of working with SQL and BigQuery. And our major important focus for today is for our formulas, sum and count, that helps us to summarize some data or count some data. For example, we can go to our any stats table. Let's have a look which stats we have. Stats is, for example, account stats. I don't like it. Let's go for, I don't know, campaign basic stats. Yeah, campaign basic stats is a view that is based on the table that contains the stats aggregated on a campaign level. That means that you don't have any ad group, ads, or keywords in this table, and you have a lot of different tables that have aggregation on different level. It helps you, depending on which report you want to build, to query different tables. For example, when you need to just have an overview how it was yesterday, you usually just need to work with the campaign level data and you don't want to go deeper, which with a table that aggregated on a campaign level reduce you number of data you're going to process and then you will pay less. It also will help to improve the speed of the query, which might be critical when you work with the huge accounts. Anyway, let's go here and have a look what we have here. Important thing that in all stats tables you don't have any names. You have campaign ID or criteria ID, which usually stands for keyword. You have ad group ID and external customer ID, which stands for account ID, but you don't have names. To have a names, you need to go to the table that actually called just campaign, I guess. Yeah, just campaign. We're going to go there just in the next video, so let's for now work with IDs. So what I need to see the view of the spend per day for last 2 weeks. Firstly, let's define that. If I want to have a spend per day, I need to put a date here, definitely. Let's use our date, which is more beautiful from my point of view. And then we need to use a cost. Cost should be here. You also can see here that you have a device dimension. You can see how much you spend per device. You have clicks and conversions, and conversion stands for the same value you have in a conversion column in your Google Ads account. So if you don't count some of the conversions as conversions for optimization, they will not be included here. If you have different conversion goals for different campaigns, it will take whatever the goal is for this specific campaign. For now, we just take data, date, and cost, and then we say that from Google Ads, and then campaign basic stats. Don't forget to add where the data date is actually, for the last 2 weeks, let's take February, okay? Then it's going to be 2020, then the month, first the month, it's going to be the second month, and then the date, first date. I put here more or equal, and it's very important that if you use more or equal or less than equal, first goes the more or less sign, and only after that goes the equal sign. So if you want to have more, you just put more. If you want more than equal, first goes more. Other way around, you will have an error, and it will not work. So this is something that is used a lot in different programming languages, so just take it as it is. Okay, let's run the query we have. It just takes 1 kilobytes, very small. And look what we have here. We have a lot of dates, same dates, and it's because we have different accounts, but we have different campaigns, and definitely we have different accounts. I don't ask for campaign ID here though, which I can do, campaign ID, but even if I don't ask that, SQL is not going to aggregate the data, so it's not going to build a pivot table. To build a pivot table, you have to describe what you're going to do with the data. For example, in this case, let me show you. I wanted to have sum of cost, and then I want to call it as cost. If you don't call it explicitly when you use the aggregation function sum or count, then the name will be very weird. And again, this is something you just do all the time. And one more thing that I forgot to do is group by. Group by one, or let's make it even simpler, group by data date. When you do the pivot table in Excel, you add several values as a sum or count or whatever, and you also add I don't know, campaign IDs or campaign names as dimensions, as rows. The same you have to do here. You have explicitly say what is going to be the dimension, what is going to be the row you're going to work with. So here I am have to say that group by data date. That means that this column is not going to be summarize or count or whatever. It's just going to be taken as it is. Then SQL will find all unique values, and for these unique values it is going to summarize the cost. You also can say just group by one, which is simpler when you use with SQL all the time, but just for now let's use the name. Okay, look, I either a very wealthy man, or this cost is not incorrect, is just incorrect. Definitely, I have a lot of different costs here because I don't filter by accounts, and I have accounts in euros and I have accounts in rubles, and rubles are 75 times less valuable than euros, or 65 times less than dollars. I need to treat them all differently. But for simplicity, let's assume this is one currency. Even when it's one currency, Google Ads sends data to BigQuery always in micros. That means that the final cost you have should be divided by 10, by 1 with the 6 zeros. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is approximately a million. Yeah, it's a million. So when you summarize the cost, you need to divide it by a million. I can't tell you why this is done this way. The only thing I can tell you that a lot of systems that work with the finance use this format, and sometimes it's probably very helpful. I don't know when and I don't know how. Anyway, we have the cost per day, and this is the example of working with the cost data. We also can see how many campaigns we had per day. Then we need to say count and then campaign ID as campaigns count. And when we do that, we also remember to put the name for the new column. Okay, I have some data, some campaigns count, and some costs. Now I want to see the data in a chronological order. So let's add order by, and then we need to say order by cost, and we say descending order. If you don't put descending, it's going to take ascending as default. Okay, now I have, oh sorry, it's not cost. Definitely it's going to be data date in descending order. So on top I'm going to have the very latest date of the cost I have, and it's the 12th of February. And you see that I don't have any data for 21st and 22nd. It's just because on my MCC they were no cost. And when you don't have any cost, you're not going to have any data at all. It's not going to be all campaigns with zero cost. It's going to be no campaigns, no cost, no data at all. Although the import works correctly. And then I have data date, cost, and campaigns count. If I wanted to calculate the average spend per campaign per day, I need to create a new column, which is going to be cost, and then I copy everything, put it in the parentheses, and divide it by count. I also copy everything, and it's already in parentheses, and say campaigns average spend. Okay, run it. It's very important to say that if you don't use this, because this is the actual definition of the cost per day, and just put cost divided by 1 million, it's going to return you completely different data. Most importantly, the SQL will not run because you have unaggregated cost with aggregated campaign IDs. But let's just forget about that and just remember that if you wanted to calculate something like CPC, for example, and we can do that again, we can just say some clicks as clicks, and then if all we need is just to divide cost by clicks. We again need to copy the cost the way we define the cost, then divide it by the way we define the clicks as CPC. Boom. Now I have per day the average cost, average campaigns that were running, any clicks that day, average clicks, total clicks per day, and average CPC per day. And if I wanted to make CPC more beautiful, I can say round parentheses, and the very end say comma 2 parentheses. And let's see. Yeah, the data is actually very beautiful right now. Definitely it's kind of useless because I don't have like I have all campaigns from all accounts in one place, but when you filter by some exact campaigns, it makes a lot of sense. Very important to understand that if you here, instead of doing round sum cost divided by 1 million divided by some clicks, do for example just cost divided by clicks, and then you sum all these values, mathematically you will get absolutely different result, and it's not going to be any real. It actually will be impossible in some cases because you're going to have division by 0, but this is the same as in a pivot table. Because you can't summarize the averages, you need to count average by the last column. Let me show you the difference in Excel. So when we have some data, that just takes a few moments to load the sheet. Yeah, we have, for example, clicks, and then we have cost. Sorry. And for one day we have 10 clicks, for another 20, for another 30, for another 40. And then in cost we have 100, 1,000, and then 3,420, and then 267, and then I don't know, 326. Let's also make this without 10 times lower for simplicity. And then we have CPC per day, so we divide cost by clicks. And let's put here total. To understand what is the total number, the total average CPC of this period of time, we first need to sum all the clicks, then we need to sum all the cost, and then we need to divide y by another. It's going to be 1035. So exactly the same thing we do in our BigQuery. We first, let's make it correct again. We first sum all the cost, then we sum all the clicks, and then we divide y one by another, the same way it was here. If you do it the other way around, you will calculate the average of this number, which is going to be 11.03, which is not correct, whereas the correct one is 10.35. This is something you need to remember. To make it simple and not to forget how it should be done, I always recommend you, before you trying to calculate something like CPC or impression share, or quality score, or whatever, you first explicitly define the cost, then you explicitly add clicks, and then you just copy one, copy another, and get CPC. Don't try to build something more complicated from scratch, because in the beginning you might have a mistake this or there, here or there. That's all I wanted to show you about the group by. Go there, take take criteria basic stats table. Try the same exercise, select not by data date but by criteria ID or criterion. Yeah, it's criterion, I guess. So the criterion ID stands for keyword ID or DSA ID or whatever else that can be a criteria to show you ads. And then calculate the average cost, the average clicks, the average CPC, and also count how many criterions you have per day on average. Subscribe to this channel and see you in the next video. Thank you and bye bye.